welcome again to another episode of Kingdom Talks podcast. I'm Javier, and today I am with my boy Tivo. He's back. We're going to do another continuation actually to last week's podcast, which was social media influences. It's actually received really, really well. So as I'm playing with my microphone here, hopefully it doesn't come off, but yeah, we're gonna just do a part 2 of social media influences, and I just like to thank everyone that shared and DM'd the podcast on the Instagram, just sharing your perspective, sharing your questions and answers and all that. I'm gonna go over a couple of them and really dive into part 2. How you feeling, Tivo?
Feeling good, man.
You feeling good? You ready?
Yes, sir.
You ready to? Tivo's actually a up-and-coming social media influencer / motivator, because you're out here motivating the people, bro, and I really do appreciate that. I appreciate your friendship, and you're out there trying to motivate and unite rather than divide and gossip, which it's not really seen very much in the world, because everybody's into the shade room world star culture where they rather gossip and talk gaga rather than speaking life on people, or over people, I should say. So before I do that, let me just highlight some of the people that have been donating. I have it. Where is it?
Nice. Donations.
Yeah, donations are, again, if you guys are led to donate, it's Kingdom Talks podcast on the Cashapp. Kingdom Talks is just one word, Kingdom Talks. But I just want to highlight a couple people that donated, and if I can get my Cash App to go up, that'll be lovely. Sorry, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. All right, so we're going to thank Cindy. Thank you for your donations. We're going to thank Raphael. He spells it with an F. That's a first. So shouts to Raphael, whoever you are. Thank you, sir, for your donations. And last but not least, we're going to thank Monica. Thank you for your donations. And again, if you guys want to donate through the Cash App, it's at Kingdom Talks. So yeah, bro, we're here. We are here on a different day of recording, which is fine. But you guys are listening on Wednesdays anyway. When your faithful listeners and viewers on YouTube, we record on certain days, typically on Mondays. Today we're recording on a Sunday, but we publish every Wednesday. For those that are new to the show, it's every Wednesday. It's a weekly show. Every Wednesday we have new episodes. So if you haven't tuned in and you're new to the show and you want to check us out, go ahead on Apple or on Spotify, and you can check out previous episodes. I'm biased, so I'm going to say that all the episodes are great. But if there's an episode that resonates to you, share it with us, because we love to hear your feedback. We're going to be more active on the Kingdom Talks podcast Instagram with the Insta stories. We're going to engage more on prayer requests, because we actually talk about the power of prayer and just praying over others, praying for people, praying for people's needs, because there's a dying culture out there. There's people filling each other up with different things, trying to fill that void, and they're still empty. And so we want to definitely be more active with the prayer requests and even praises. So if we prayed over you and we've answered some of your requests, and you want to give us like a praise report, we encourage you to do that through the DM on the Instagram. Also, Tyler spoke about it a couple episodes back in regards to engaging with the audience. And so with that being said, if you want to hear something that's resonating in your heart that we have yet to talk about and you want us to talk about it, go ahead and do that on the Instagram as well. I'm also going to do polls. I've been doing polls as well of what you want to hear us talk about, whether it be with me and Tyler, me with Tivo, me with Caleb, or just any suggestions you wanna share with us. Let us know. There was a suggestion, I don't know if Tyler had told you, but someone suggested to have an all-female panel.
Oh yeah.
And me working the camera. that was actually suggested. I'm like, hey, I can do that. I can work the camera.
Oh no, y'all attended that one.
Yeah, Tyler. It was suggested, obviously by a female, that it would be cool for me to host an all-female podcast to give women empowerment and things of that nature. And we're all about giving women of God a voice and a platform, and I'm open to that. I don't know who is willing to do that, but those conversations are being had, and if you feel led to be part of that panel, shoot us a DM and we'll talk with you. And yeah, I'm definitely, that'll be cool to have.
Yeah, it would.
It'll give me a break. It'll give my voice a break, and I'll be behind the camera to just have a couple of young ladies or old. I'm not, trying to exclude a age demographic, but it doesn't matter how old you are. Obviously, you have to be of age. You have to be 18 years or older, because we have to follow YouTube guidelines. But yeah, if it meets the requirements, and you're led to talk on the podcast about a subject that needs a female voice, I am so open for that. So thank you for suggesting that, whoever that was. I can't put a name on it because I can't remember who it was, but it was suggested. So any suggestion we're willing to hear and possibly entertain and possibly execute. So you never know. Kingdom Talks podcast may have an episode with an all-female panel. But anyway, so last week we were here talking about social media influences,
Right.
and we had a cool perspective, and that was Tyler's perspective. As you know, Tyler is one of our residential, quote-unquote residential co-hosts here at the podcast. He's one of the guys that are always willing to come on here and co-host with me, and he was giving us a perspective of where he needed to get healthy, and in order for him to get spiritually healthy, he needed to detach himself completely from social media, which he currently is in that season. He says it's a forever thing, but he says it in the sense that forever for right now means that social media is not in his life for right now, this moment. It may change, and we're respecting that. But yeah, he just, if you guys didn't tune in, go ahead and check out episode 13 in regards to that take on just not living in his life. He's not living in that culture where he's just not diving into the social media platforms and the social media life, if you will, and he's living and thriving still. So he kind of just shared his heart that that there is life without social media. But this week we have TiVo, and TiVo is going to share a little bit about how it was in a season of not being in social media, not being so active in social media, and where now he's felt that God's put a calling in his life where he needs to reach the masses and utilize his platform to speak life and speak truth and speak his story, use his story as a motivation, as an inspiration to empower and equip people that might have gone through the same the same walk that he's walked, the same adversaries that he faced, and the same challenges that he faced, and he wants to give hope to the hopeless. You're a man of God, and you're embracing the life of your recovery because you dealt with addiction, and for those that didn't know about TiVo, he actually did touch on that on the first episode he ever did with us, and he touched on that. So check that episode out. But today, TiVo's just gonna have a conversation with me in regards to how we responsibly can use social media. That social media is not all evil, and that it could actually be used for good. Because social media can get very treacherous, very negative. It could be addictive. It could become a drug, if you will, because of people seeking affirmation, seeking acceptance, and just the stats that we went over last episode in regards to how it affects the mind and the dopamines and what it does to your brain with the youth, because the youth they're so impressionable, and it does things to your head, to their brains. And if you talk to a person who happens to be a parent that works for the corporation, Facebook and the Facebook properties, because Facebook does have properties now because they bought Instagram. The only property that they don't own currently is not TikTok. So all the other properties like WhatsApp, Instagram, and things of that nature, they own those properties, and the parents that work for those companies or those properties would tell you straight up that they will not allow their kids to utilize that app. So that kind of speaks volumes. That actually tells you something, that they know things that we don't know, and they're not going to allow their kids to use those platforms until they're young adults. I guess 16 or over, 18 or over, however they're going to navigate through that. But that's telling. That's definitely telling that people who work for these corporations will not allow their kids to utilize that platform. But TiVo is very active, so he's the total opposite of Tyler. Shout out to Tyler. Tyler sends everyone his love. He's actually working today. So you came to a place where you had to come to terms with, temporarily, if you will, to walk away or disconnect or unplug from social media, right?
Right. And like, to speak on, what you mentioned about the forever thing, I literally said those words verbatim. I said, because as everyone knows, I'm in recovery, so I was going through a time in my life where I was battling with a lot of depression, insecurities, just all these things. And for me, I fell victim to being one of those people on social media that would compare themselves to the other things that they saw on social media. And there was a lot of other personal things that, I can speak on off air that, kind of, just basically, shifted me towards making a decision. And I told myself, honestly, I was like, I'm going to delete social media and I'm never going to get back on it again, because I truly felt like social media was the devil at one point.
And it can become that, yeah. That's for sure. It could definitely become that.
For me, what I can say, what I honestly will say, and for anyone who's listening, social media can be used in several different ways. It can be used as good, and it can also be used as bad. But one of the great benefits that I gained from just completely deactivating, and I just call it, for me, I disconnected from the world. So when I disconnected from the world, that's when I was at my most peace. I was at my most peace, and I was able to gain my mental stability and strength that I needed. And of course, I did a lot of, seeking with God and seek God, got closer with Him. And like you spoke on, yes, I'm back on social media. And it was, so one of the first reasons that got me back onto social media was family. Was family.
Oh, family.
Yeah, because I have a lot of family, because I'm not originally from Florida, of course.
Right.
I have family all over the world.
Yeah.
But I'm originally from Atlanta, so I have a lot of family who I don't converse with over the phone, or who don't have my number, and vice versa. It's not that we have any bad blood. It's just, over time you get disconnected. But one of their ways to stay connected with me was through social media.
Yeah.
So when it came to that time where I made the decision to, disconnect from social media, if anyone want to know a time frame, it was a little bit over 2 years. I disconnected from social media for about almost 3 years.
What year was this?
So this was actually 2017.
2017.
And I didn't revisit until close to, I say, the end of 2019.
Right.
Almost, beginning of 2020 when I started to reconnect. Now, Facebook, I never deactivated, but I was never on it. I was never on it.
Instagram was mainly your main.
Instagram was my main. And again, the reason why I said, I kept, the Facebook or went back to social media was primarily for family, because family did still converse with me through Facebook. And Facebook is one of the very few apps where you don't necessarily have to have the official app on your phone. You can just have the Messenger app. So, I would have family reach out to me, via a Facebook message, and I would respond back, communicate with them just to let them know that I was okay. And it was more or less, like my grandparents or, my elders in my family that would reach out to me, and older cousins that I grew up with as well. But with Instagram, that's something that I use the most.
Right.
And that was one of my biggest triggers.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I feel like, Facebook is big, but Instagram for me was more addictive.
Right.
And it was more things that I saw on Instagram that I could say distracted me.
Yeah.
So when I needed that time and that space, I chose to make the decision to, cut off Instagram. I also canceled out Snapchat as well.
Right.
I cut off all social media, but like I said, only social media that I kept was the Facebook.
It feels like Instagram's a big one because of the different things that you can do on it and the different features and stuff like that, like the Insta stories and the Reels, the Explore page and things like that. But you were able to, I'm sure you had valid reasons as to why you detach yourself from there, to get healthier, obviously, and just to kind of get away from the programming that these social media platforms like Instagram does to you, because it literally programs you.
Yeah.
They throw ads at you, they throw visions at you, they throw all these things at you, and as a man, because the way men are wired, we just tend to do impulsive things sometimes, right? Like I've bought different things just literally off of an Insta story ad. Oh, that looked great, and then just out of the impulsiveness that you have, you end up buying a hat. This is actually a hat, believe it or not, from a Instagram ad. I bought this hat that I'm wearing for all you YouTube viewers. This is an Instagram purchase, and it's crazy to even say that. Like, yeah, this is an Instagram purchase. Like a couple years ago, Instagram really wasn't that prevalent in ads, and especially in its genesis of it being a thing. It didn't have ads. It didn't have ways to purchase on Instagram. Now Instagram, there's ways to purchase vitamins and clothing lines and hats and all these things. So it does program you, and it programs you in a way that it's not healthy, because it's literally just smacking you in the face with things of the world, right? And then when you find yourself in a place where you're just not feeling yourself, you're kind of getting into things not of God, like porn and feeling a certain way, gossiping, feeling resentful, feeling just the things that are not fruitful, because you're not leading a life with the empowerment of the Holy Spirit and things of that nature. So when you're caught up in that programming, and I'm doing it in parentheses, these programming things that they do to your head, it puts you in a place where you're not really yourself. You're being programmed to do these things. You want to slide in girls' DMs, you know what I'm saying, and purchase things that you shouldn't be purchasing because you just saw an ad. The list goes on and on and on and on. And I'm sure that was a difficult task for you, being that you were new to your faith, that you were trying to do the right thing, you were in recovery. And when you went back to social media, you decided that, you know what, I'm going to flip this negative thing and turn it into a positive. And I'm sure that was a task in itself, right?
Yeah, because and it's so crazy because I had a lot of people that would ask me, why did I, delete social media, or how did I go this long without having social media? But it was also people that was in my corner that would come to me and let me know, like, well, hey, social media is not all bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally, and this is what I realized when I made this decision to change, when that is a very great marketing tool.
Mm.
And there's certain ways that you can use social media in positive ways.
Right.
So what I did when I first, came back was I looked at everything that I did in the beginning, right? So at first, I was one of those people that fell victim to, I guess, the flexing.
Yeah. Because I actually was becoming a thing too.
Yeah,
like, let me flex on the gram real quick.
Yeah, I'm living this lavish life, on Instagram that I clearly was not living back home.
Yeah.
And I'm also, following pages that I should not be following.
Same, yeah.
Seeking pages and women to fill a void.
Yeah.
I was doing all those things, and I was, I was torn inside.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got back on social media, I made a truth to myself, and it didn't happen right away.
Right.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, because it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process,
Yeah.
and I didn't always.
Yeah, it's definitely not an overnight thing for sure.
Right, and I didn't always know that I was going to have this calling on me to be a motivational speaker.
Right.
Like when people would tell me that you should, write a documentary, you should write a book, I'm just like, you're crazy. And I looked at it as seeking clout. I'm like, I'm not finna seek clout, no. And I'm like, who's going to listen to me? But people was like, well, how else can you get your word heard? So when I sat back and I thought about it, I was like, okay, but how can I attract different people? How can I attract that type of crowd?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I had to do, and I'm not going to lie, I had to, this comes to self-care. It's a difference from self-care versus being selfish.
Yeah.
I always thought for everybody else, well, what if I unfollow this person? How would they feel? Mm-hmm. But in reality, I had to worry about me, because as long as I'm following this person that has an OnlyFans, nothing against OnlyFans or women, I don't want to offend anyone, I'm just using it as an example.
Right.
If I'm following someone that's on OnlyFans, all I'm seeing on my timeline is that type of content.
Yeah.
Right? And then if it's anything to do with gambling, let's just say gambling, to get off that other topic.
Because gambling can be addicting as well.
Can be
People's
addicting
lost
as well.
houses because of gambling addiction.
And then now I'm seeing nothing but content on gambling. So what I did was I literally unfollowed every single person that was not a close, friend or family member of mine,
right? Or
that had some type of positive content or influence on their site. Yeah. And one thing that I started to do, because one thing that I realized is if you go on Instagram and if you just type in on the explore page, like what you're attracted to, it could be motivational speaking. You can just put that in, like for example, Trent Shelton, someone who I follow.
Trent Shelton, I love that guy.
Once you follow that one person, you have a list.
Yeah, because the algorithm is a real thing. Yeah. And shouts to Trent Shelton, man. That guy's a stud, man. He is such a great motivational speaker, and he has an incredible story too.
Yes.
But yeah, it's good that you follow him. I follow Trenton. I follow Clayton Jennings too. Clayton Jennings is another guy that I actually personally met myself a couple years ago, and he has a great following, and he's such a great, has a great influence on the youth because he speaks gospel, he speaks truth, he speaks Jesus, and he's constantly just preaching. But not just necessarily preaching at you. He's actually talking to you and letting you know, hey, it's okay. You might be feeling suicidal, but suicide's not the answer.
Right.
Here's where you can seek answers, and you can seek them through Jesus. And so I like him. I like obviously, these quote unquote celebrity pastors, as much as they hate being called that, and that's just what the youth of today calls them, like the Levi Luskos of the world. The Judah Smiths of the world, the Sean Blakeneys of the world, and Richard Wilkersons of the world. All those guys, when you follow them, your algorithm will pick up on that, and then it'll just, put you in positions where it'll show you other content similar to that. But if you do the total opposite, and you're following an OnlyFans girl or Insta, what is it called? The Fashion Nova Insta. Influencers that are wearing scandalous things and bikinis and all that, you start following those things, that algorithm will pick up on that as well, and it'll put you on borderline pornographic images and content that you shouldn't.
It will recommend.
Yeah, it'll recommend it and suggest it. Yeah. Things like that, and I had to be mindful of that too, because that's something that I got to be careful with. I don't want to dive into that and entertain that, because I know what it could do to me, not just necessarily what for my platform, but me spiritually. Yes, I got to take care of the platform now that I'm more active on social media and on different platforms. But just take the platform aside and just me spiritually. What am I viewing? The Bible says is you become what you view. So you have to guard your heart. You have to filter what you're exposing yourself, and not just yourself, but the God that dwells inside of you, the Holy Spirit. Because I remember Levi Lusko touched on it in one of his books called Swipe Right. He says that we technically we cheat on God almost every day because of the things that we view, because we're constantly, viewing things on online. And the way that we have to guard ourselves is to a hold ourselves accountable and have an accountability partner, and be responsible. And I think that's what you started doing. You started being more mindful of those things, and you were being responsible with your social media, and through that you were able to develop quite a following, because you have quite a following. I mean, let's call a spade. Like, you actually have quite a following, and that's awesome that you're able to grow your following without compromising your belief system, which is your faith in Jesus. And so, how were you able to navigate through that?
So for me, and one thing that I want to speak on before I answer that is just not so much of just like the stuff that I was doing on social media or pages that I was following was a problem. Just the addiction that I had to Instagram was a problem. So like, for an example, I would wake up in the morning and the first thing that I would do is pick up my phone and search social media before I see God or read the Bible.
Yeah, and that's a crazy thought, but we would do it.
But I would do it, but
I know I would do it.
Just ways that I navigated through it. To be honest, man, I'm not gonna lie, man, it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, nothing. Doing the right thing is not always easy. Right. I'll just put it to you like that. And there are going to be temptations. There were definitely tempting sites. Yeah. Still trying to follow me, and still to this day they still do. Yeah. But for me, one of the things that I do, in all honesty, man, of course, prayer is the utmost, strength that I use to just cope with it. But another thing is, like, the minute I see something negative, I don't give it, because it's a certain amount of seconds. I don't know the science to it, so I don't want to get quoted if I'm wrong. Right. But it's a certain amount of seconds. Let's just say it's 10 to 15 seconds that you have before you make a decision. If you do not make that decision within, let's say, that 10 seconds, then you're going to do the wrong thing. So for me, when I see something on social media and I know for a fact that it's not something that I value or should be looking at, or is not positive, I immediately disconnect from it. I will unfollow it, or I would just keep on moving on down the page, because like I said, if I sit there, I will develop the curiosity. Yeah. Then my mind will start telling me all these things and stories, like, go look at this or go look at that, and then now I'm sitting there for a whole hour, 2 hours. Yeah. Went from searching their page to searching this other page, and it just goes on down the line. Yeah. So for me, I honestly just had to break that habit. And what I did was, when I wake up in the morning, I don't go on my phone. Social media is now the reason why I get on my phone in the morning, but I make sure I spend time with God first. But the reason why I get on social media in the morning is because I do upload my prayers and stuff that I read. I do see that. Off of like certain devotionals that you read and stuff like that. Right. Yeah, but that's actually a good practice to do that. And another thing that I did before I started getting into just the motivational speaking, what I did at first was I would fast from social media. So not like days, but just like certain hours throughout the day. For example, like if I went to work, I was working from 9 to 7. I started going to school at 6, so I leave at 9 to 5. So I just say 9 to 5. From 9 to 5, I won't be on social media. Nice. So I will make sure I'm focusing on work, and I'm mentally prepared for work, and I'm disconnected from the world. And once 5 o'clock hits, and then once I started to, because I think it's 2190. 21 days breaks a habit, and 90 days is permanent. Right. So, and I just say it to say it's not going to always be hard. Eventually, it's going to get easier over time. And for me, as days went on with me doing, those cycles consistently, it became like, it was like natural. Yeah. I didn't worry about social media. I wasn't, too intrigued by it or just like driven towards it. Yeah. But now that's more like when I look at social media or get on social media, it's more or less to post something to see what feedback I've got from what I posted. Yeah, because now you're more taking you're taking on a position of a content creator now. Yeah. So when you take on that position, and I'm obviously
taking that position now that I'm doing this whole podcast thing. When you take ownership of saying, I have a responsibility, I have to do the things for the kingdom. I have to set time for the Lord first and foremost before I even start posting my content, whatever the case may be. I think when you start there, for all you up and coming content creators that are tuning in and listening in, we just encourage you that you don't have to compromise those things of God to get a following, to start gaining traction on acquiring new followers. Because yes, we do live in a culture where you got to do the most and the most outrageous things to get a following, right? Because I had, real quick before you chime in, I had this one guy, I think he's out in Fort Lauderdale. I don't remember your name, sir, but I am talking about you. So if you're listening, I saw your DM, and he's an up and coming content creator, but he wants to do it the right way. He doesn't want to do outlandish things. He doesn't want to flex on the gram. He doesn't want to advocate for this type of worldly lifestyle, because that will grab heads and grab views and gain followers really fast. If you're a good-looking guy that happens to have, an 8-pack, and you got muscles and all these things, and you want to just post shirtless things of what we call thirst trap content, he doesn't want to go that route. So he was asking us, yo, how do I do it the right way? I don't want to be that guy that's thirst trapping and trying to gain following that way. I don't want to be that guy. So that's the first step, is to not want to compromise. And I told him that. I was like, that's your very first step. Like what you're saying right now to me, that's your first step. Don't do that. It's not gonna have the right audience, the right demographic that you're trying to reach. If you're trying to reach a certain demographic, you have to play the part, right? So I said, okay, so don't do thirst trap. Don't be on the gram flexing physically and metaphorically, right? Because he's a good-looking dude. Yeah. He's a good-looking dude. You may want to train me, bro, because he's a good-looking dude. He has a physique. I think he was saying that he had several years of what are those? Adrian, you may know, like the physique fitness things, bodybuilding. He's into that. He was on stage for several years, doing those physique bodybuilding expos that they do. I'm not really too familiar with that world, but he's one of those guys, right? And he reached out to the Instagram and was sharing a little bit of his story. And I wrote back to him. I said, hey man, if you don't want to go there, and if you don't want to appease that crowd, then you're on the right track. All you got to do is just literally, what's your niche? Like, what's your niche? Like, get what you want to do. Do you want to talk about your story? Do you feel that maybe you need to share the gospel in your own way through fitness? Maybe because it seems like his passion is fitness. So I said, hey, maybe you may want to utilize fitness as something to possibly share the gospel, possibly be an inspiration for a guy that might be struggling just like you are. Because he says that he shared a little bit. He was saying that he struggled with a lot of insecurities, that he wasn't enough, that he wasn't good enough, that he wasn't strong enough, that he wasn't this and that. And I'm like, dude, you got a freaking 8-pack, bro. What? But it's amazing that the physical doesn't really match what's in between the ears. And we were just talking about it. So some of these people are battling wars that we can't see. And for that gentleman to reach out to us and just share that little bit, it just kind of like puts me in a place where, wow, it's not all about the fictitious stuff that we hear, especially here in South Florida. South Florida, everybody's trying to come up and be one up better than the next, whether it's physical, whether it's the cars that they're driving, whether it's the condo that they're living in, whatever the case may be. It's been becoming cultural. the culture here in South Florida. I don't know wherever you guys are tuning in, but here in South Florida, the culture is definitely a little different. It's more fictitious and pretentious, and everything's plastic and it doesn't feel real. But that's just culture everywhere. It's just more prevalent here in South Florida, but and California, I'm sure to a certain degree, it's like that in New York and Chicago, in the Midwest, and all these different places that you call home here in the United States. We all struggle with something, and we get to places where we want to do better. Like this gentleman here, he actually knew that thirst trapping and being on the gram doing the most, it wasn't going to be beneficial for him in the long run. It might get him the traction, it might get him the followers, it might get him that following, it might get him that clout, but he identifies himself as a Christian. So he felt like that's not, like Chivo said earlier, it's not the right thing to do. How are we going to live righteously if we're going to appease that type of crowd? So that's, Tivo hit it right on. Like, we do have a responsibility, and I encourage that gentleman. Hey, if fitness is your thing, I think that's what God is going to use that. God will use that only if you allow God to use. Right. Just like Tivo. Tivo allowed the Holy Spirit and God in his life to use your story and use your life to do the things that you do in social media, especially on Instagram. You're constantly putting on reels, motivational thoughts that you may have that are thought-provoking, and it's also empowering for those who are listening.
And like for me, what I do now, man.
I shared one of your reels too, by the way.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
I think Jasmine too. Jasmine shared one of your reels.
So yeah. Honestly, what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of social media in a good way. And the reason why I say that is because I see that it's a lot of attention that gravitates towards social media.
Right.
And just like someone told me that I could, reach the world or make an impact on the world by, social media, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I know that, people look at me and people gravitate towards me because of my outside appearance. So when they see me, they don't think there's nothing wrong. Just like you spoke on about the guy that you know, they don't think that there's something wrong with me. So what I do is I share what I've been through to let the world know that not only are you're not alone and you're not the only one that's going through something, but anybody can be going through something. Yeah. But I've been there, but this is how I've overcame. Like, you can overcome, because you spoke on something. You spoke on suicide. That is very, very serious. Mental health awareness is very serious. It's very big. And what I try to do is, I'm in recovery and I try to speak on addiction, but sometimes when the Holy Spirit puts something into my heart, if like the day I spoke on cancer, because I went to a cancer event that day, I just got ironically asked to go to a cancer event. No, I have not experienced that, or no one in my family has, but I'm willing to support anything, any positive movement. So I went to support, and another way of me showing my support and appreciation was by making a reel specifically for those who have dealt with cancer. So not only just addiction, I speak on everything. Yeah. And I just feel like that's because honestly, I look at it like this: if we want to see a change in the world, it has to start with us, especially for my generation. If I want to see a change in my generation, it's going to have to start with someone. So why not someone in me? If I'm in my generation and I'm this public figure and this person that everyone looks up to or gravitates towards to, at times I don't know why, but that's when I realized, I was like, okay, God has something, in store for me. Like you said, I had to accept that, because at first I didn't want to accept that. That is a tough job to take on, man. Being a motivational speaker or just a leader and doing the right thing, it's not always easy.
No, it's not. It's not, because you said it earlier. You're only human, and you have human moments, and you're tempted. And when you are on Instagram, especially because of you being a content creator, you spend time on social media, and sometimes those temptations do come through a slide of a fingertip, right? And it just catches you sometimes at your weakest points, but then it also catches you when you're riding on that high wave of doing the righteous things for the kingdom, that high wave of being Holy Spirit driven, and it'll catch you on that high wave. And sometimes when you're on that high and it catches you there, you still the temptation's still there. Now, of course, when you're at your weakest point, you're more septic to dive into that. But when you're on your highs, you can deviate from that. It's a little bit easier to deviate and pivot away from that. So that's why it's so important, like you said earlier, to dedicate time and be intentional about your relationship that you have with Jesus. You got to be intentional for that relationship to thrive. And that's a great blueprint to have, because that's what God wants us to do with relationships here on earth, whether it be a romantical one, a business one, a friendship one. If you're intentional with that relationship, that relationship is going to thrive, right? And so that blueprint is given to us, and we have to be intentional with the Lord, and it'll reciprocate with our circles around us. If I'm intentional with you, why do you think our relationship, you and I, TiVo, is thriving? Because we're intentional with one another, right? You text me, I text you. I'm always checking up on you, see how you're doing. Whenever you need something, you're hitting me up. Whenever you want to, you're wondering, hey, what are we doing? You guys doing anything? Whatever. But that's always an intentional thing, like praying for one another. That's intentionality. Yo, I want to pray for you, brother. I'm here for you. I'm in your corner. I'm backing you up. Whatever the case may be. That's so important. And sometimes you don't see that in social media. Yeah, I may like your reel, and I may comment on it. You know what I'm saying? And say, yo, that's fire, TiVo. But it's more of a surface level type. If I only based my relationship with you on social media, it's just surface level things. We won't be able to have deep, thought provoking conversations if I just based my relationship with you just through social media. It wouldn't be the same. It's basically what I'm trying to say.
Because you're right, and not everybody is the same on social media. The way that a person would carry themselves on social media versus how they would carry themselves in their everyday life, just like I mentioned, I fell victim to it before, because I would carry this quote unquote persona on social media, but live a completely different life. Or I would act as if I had a certain type of life, which I consider flexing, and I did not have. But one thing that I wanted to speak on, that a lot of people might not even, I'm not going to say remember, or people might not admit to it. Well, for one, my addiction got very bad with social media, to the point where you have people out there that do anything for likes, and they have their own ways that they go about it. But for me, I paid for it. I would literally go to apps to pay for followers.
Oh,
pay for likes.
That was like becoming like a real thing, right?
It was bad. It was bad for me. And I'll tell you another app that I was addicted to, right? And I'll admit to it, I was addicted to porn.
Right.
And I overcame that. But my next addiction that was basically similar was dating sites.
Oh, the dating.
A lot of people don't look at that as social media, but for me, I looked at it as social media, like Hinge, Bumble, Tinder. Sorry, sites, but
they're not paying ads, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, not trying to put them down, because I'm not gonna lie. I have a friend that actually just met his wife, on one of those dating sites.
I'm not gonna go.
I'm not down.
I don't think we're gonna sit here and say that those things are evil.
Yeah.
I think the intentionality behind those sites with certain individuals are evil, and it could be borderline evil because the intentions are not correct.
Right.
So it is more the people than it is the site. So with these Bumbles and Tinders and what's the other one? Match.
Yeah, it is Match. Match.com.
There's a bunch of them, and those can be. if not utilized correctly,
Right.
those can be very treacherous to your life, to your walk with the Lord if you call yourself a Christian, and it could be detrimental to the nourishing of your relationship with the Lord. If you are constantly going on Tinder or Bumble and you're trying to seek for a quick one night fling or a quick fixer upper because you just came off of a 9, 10, 11 month or year relationship and you want a rebound because that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
You want to rebound, especially in this day and age, right? So you're looking for the rebound because you don't want to be by yourself. You're looking for something temporary, right? So those things, if you put those things before the Lord, it'll mess up. It'll jack, like Pastor Sean said, it'll jack up your life, and it most certainly will jack up your life in so many different ways because one day you innocently wanted to go on a dating app and then you met the wrong person and you got into a toxic relationship and that person turned out to be abusive and it beat you upside the head and now you're in this really bad predicament and you didn't know how you got there. Well, there's responsibility that we have to take, but there's also a way out, and and God will always give you a way out, and sometimes that way out is God allowing certain things to happen for you to finally wake up and say, I gotta get out of here.
Right.
I gotta walk out. Because God will allow certain things to happen for you to wake up and say, I gotta get out of here. I'm hurting too much. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what happened with me, and one of the reasons why I deleted social media, and not to, again, for anyone who's listening, it's one of those things for social media. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. But for me, I was put in a situation where God literally hit me in the face because he put me in a situation where he was like, okay, you're not going to pay attention to all the signs that I've shown you so far, so let me do this too. Yeah. And it came to a point where I had no choice. Well, I did have a choice, but the choice that I made leaned more to deactivating my social media, and that's when I had to get myself right. So
it's all about health.
Yeah.
Get yourself healthy. If you find yourself spiritually not healthy, social media is not going to be the answer. Right. We're here, me and T are here to tell you guys, if you're not spiritually healthy and you're struggling, you'll never find the answers in social media. You never find the answer on Instagram. Never. Because I'm a byproduct of it. I've dealt with social media since the very beginning, since this thing first came out, Instagram and stuff like that. And now we grow through our mistakes and we learn. And your platform's thriving, man. Because every time we talk about your content and you tell me the reels and videos that you put up, you'll tell me, yo, Javi, like my thing got XYZ 1,000 views, and I'm like, bro, praise God for that, because if you didn't allow God to intervene and God to guide you in that area, you wouldn't have been able to create that content to get the 1,350 whatever views it got. So it is a responsibility that we definitely have, especially as content creators. Right. We have to put on our thinking caps. Remember that we're not doing it for clout, like you said, and remember that we're not doing it for clout. We're not doing it for us. We're not doing it for the sake of us getting popular, quote unquote, or anything like that. But it's doing it for God, doing it for the kingdom, and doing it to just challenge those. And I say it all the time, dude. Whenever I come up here and I'm talking certain topics with either yourself or anyone that's on here with me, like, I'm not calling anybody out, bro. Right. I'm not trying to spread rumors, spread gossip, open the window of opportunity to create dialogue in that sense, because I'm not. I'm just challenging myself first and foremost, and challenge others that we definitely got to be better. We definitely have to always put God in front of the things that we do, especially how we move when we utilize these platforms, because, man, if we don't do it right, you think you may be getting away with it, but there's a lot of eyes on you that we may not know that are on us, and they will expose you some way, somehow. So we got to be careful. We have to be careful, and there's an audience for everyone. So if you're a content creator, such as your TiVo, there's an audience for Zeke told me that one day. He was like, bro, social media, you can do anything you want to do on it, but especially if you're a Christian, you're a content creator, there's a audience for everyone. Everyone is going to view your stuff because you're going to have an audience for that. And as much as you're going to have audiences look at you and praise you for certain things, there's people they're going to not like you because of who you are. Doesn't matter if you're preaching Jesus, doesn't matter if you're living a healthy life, doesn't matter whom you're dating, doesn't matter what church you go to. They're going to not like you because of who you were in the past or what you're becoming now. Because it's literally a reflection of who they are in that current time. Maybe they're going through some stuff, and you touched on it offline that, hey, sometimes people that are hurt other people because of whatever grievances they're dealing with. They may not like you because it's something that they dislike about themselves. You know what I'm saying? So they might not like TiVo for XYZ reasons, but sometimes it's something within them. And when you said, and we talked about it offline, that you pray for those people, I'm like, bro, that kind of changed my perspective because I didn't look at it that way. I really didn't, man.
Yeah, I have to, man. And then, like I said, man, because it'll keep me sick. And the reason why I say that is because for me, I would build resentment. I would build resentment. Either I would build resentment or I would retaliate. And one thing that I had to learn throughout life is there were so many times I made decisions off of temporary emotions that caused permanent damage. And I didn't understand that until I got put in a situation where, I lost a family member and I wasn't able to make those proper amends because of that decision I made off those temporary emotions.
Right.
And that's when I realized, and I was like, man, resentment is something serious. Like mental health is something serious. So if someone is going out of their way to destroy someone else's life, man, they're sick. Yeah. But that doesn't mean put them down. It doesn't mean, all they need is help. And it's so crazy because I was watching a video of this kid, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows about school shootings. There's been a lot of school shootings. Right. And this was something that really hit my heart, man, because it was this kid, man. I can't remember how old he was, but he was in high school. And he literally went, to the school to, of course, take care of whoever, he felt the need to, harm that day. Yeah. And a teacher stopped him in his tracks. And instead of confronting him with confrontation or trying to fight him or take away the gun or anything, the teacher just stopped and just talked and had a heart-to-heart with him. The guy, the boy cried and surrendered and gave him a firearm, and that teacher was, a hero that day. And I just take that and apply that to life. Like, we can't control how people act. We can only control how we react. Yes. And not everybody. That was good. Not everybody, now, mind you, not everybody is going to react how we want them to react. They're going to always react in hatred, and not everyone is not always going to return the love that we return while they're acting in hatred. Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't reciprocate. No. And it's just our responsibility to just keep it moving. But I guarantee you, it's like, if you have someone that's doing wrong, right, and I'm sitting here and just say I'm doing something wrong to you. And I know deep down inside it's wrong, but again, it's a reflection of me. It's something going on inside me that I don't like about you. So I'm being mean to you or bullying you because of stuff that you're dealing with. Because stuff that I'm dealing with, but you continue to retaliate in love. Eventually, I'm going to break. Yeah, and I'm going to be like Javi, like I'm going through X, Y, and Z. And I've seen that happen. I've really seen that happen. I've actually seen that happen too. Yeah, there's power in that. Yeah. Love. What is it? What is that quote? Love trumps all, or love will conquer all. Some quote that I'm butchering right now. But yeah, love does trump everything. Yeah. If and God is love. So when you're expressing that type of love, that agape love, that's the agape love that you read in the Bible, that'll trump over everything, bro. So when you're doing things in social media like TiVo's a content creator and he's a motivational speaker, up and coming motivational speaker. Like, he does things with love,
he remembers that, man, the grace and love that I received from Christ, I got to reciprocate that back, even in the smallest way, on the platforms that you're on, to give hope to the hopeless, and shine a light where there's darkness. And so I appreciate that with you, and I appreciate this conversation. So with you guys out there that are content creators, keep the questions coming. TiVo's Instagram is what?
It's Life of TiVo.
Life of TiVo. No,
I got underscores in there, but I think it's Life underscore of underscore TiVo.
Yeah, so check TiVo out. He's an incredible human being. He's a great friend of mine. He has really cool motivational reels and videos on there, and which you are going to continue to post
Absolutely.
up, throughout his journey in social media. So keep an eye out on that. And to all you content creators, man, it is a difficult vehicle to navigate with. But again, as I said earlier on, you surround yourself with the right voices, and you're in the right places. It'll definitely put you in positions to make something worthwhile, and make something with more potency, with more value, and in the long run, it'll expand and increase the kingdom. So keep that in mind. Don't seek for temporary validations. Don't seek for temporary stuff, because you'll get 2,000 followers in a month, but you're doing it the wrong way, and it'll bite you in the butt at the end. And you're not gonna and it's gonna just compromise your integrity, compromise the character that God wants to build in you and within you. So don't seek for the fast track of things when it comes to social media. Don't purchase followers like TiVo once did. Don't purchase followers, guys. Do not do that. That's a scam, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get those followers, but then they have your credit card information, guys.
They're from a completely different country.
They're from a completely different country, somewhere in Nova Scotia. It's trying to.
Spoke to Carolina.
I know, and they're gonna scam you out of your money. They have your credit card information. So if you bought followers before, please call your credit card companies and change your freaking number, because they will scam you sooner or later. So thanks, bro, for another great episode, and I hope it's not the last. This is TiVo's.
Most definitely.
Yeah, this is TiVo's second episode. So if you guys missed TiVo's first episode, check that out on the Spotify, Apple platforms. There is new stuff coming up. We're going to be having a series of random talks, like Tyler had spoken on episode 12 and 13. We're also wrapping up this series. This is part 2 of the social media influences. Part 1 was episode 13. This is part 2. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys took something out of it that it's applicable for your lives. And if you want to reach out to TiVo, check out Life of TiVo on Instagram. And I think that's your main platform that you utilize, right?
Yeah, I mean, because I have Facebook.
Yeah.
It's TiVo Kenzie.
Mm-hmm.
On there, TiVo is spelled TVOE.
Yeah,
Kenzie.
but mainly it's your Instagram
Yeah,
for
but
all
it's
your
mainly my
content.
Instagram. And the only reason why I mentioned Facebook is because with Instagram and Facebook, they're connected.
Yeah, because they're properties, yeah.
Yeah, so when I submit something to Instagram, it automatically sends it to Facebook.
So yeah, just check him out, man. He's an incredible man of God, and he's out here doing things for the kingdom. So I really do appreciate TiVo. He'll come back soon on another episode, I'm sure. Tune in for part 3 of this series of social media influences. We're going to have a female's perspective on part 3. So we're working on that. And if you guys want to reach out to us, go ahead and go to www.kingdomtalkspodcast.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's where you can reach myself and Tyler with your prayer requests, with basically everything under the sun. Cashapp is also available at Kingdom Talks. The Instagram is Kingdom Talks _ pod, and tune in to that. As I said prior, I'm on there pretty active with the Insta stories, so you guys can engage and interact with us with the prayer request polls, the questions polls, all types of polls that I will post on there. Any suggestions that you guys want to do, as I stated earlier on this episode, feel free to do so, because again, we just want to not just sit here and ramble and just talk for the sake of talking, but also want to engage with you guys on certain topics that you guys want us to touch on, whether it be anxiety, whether it be entrepreneurship, whether it be telemarketing, social media, anything you guys want to talk about. Relationships, that's another one. I'm going to get a couple here. JR and Sarah, which me and Jasmine were actually at their wedding. Tyler was at that wedding. They're newlyweds. I'm actually been talking to them, having conversations with them offline to get a relationship-based episode and what it looks like to date, man, because we get it wrong. And I'll be the first one to admit, as long as I've been a Christian, I've gotten that area wrong. It's been flipped upside down. I'm healthier now, and they're really great people. You know JR pretty well, and Sarah is an amazing servant leader. So they're going to be sitting on this couch sooner, hopefully sooner than later, and we're going to talk about relationship goals and how that looks like, how they got to where they are at. They're newlyweds, so they're out there, being all newlyweds and loving on each other and doing all these goo goo gaga stuff. But yeah, they're going to be here soon. And yeah, a lot is yet to come. The best is most certainly yet to come. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, guys. Love you. Peace.